Tonight, we venture into the bedchambers of medieval Europe, where the darkness harbored more than just the unknown. In the quiet hours when the boundary between dreams and reality blurs, they would come, sensual, seductive, and ultimately sinister. The incubi and succubi, demons of desire that have haunted human imagination for centuries. The stillness of night, a weight upon the chest, the sensation of otherworldly touch. Throughout history, countless individuals have reported nocturnal visitations by entities that promised pleasure but left terror in their wake. These weren't mere nightmares. To our ancestors, these were genuine encounters with supernatural beings intent on stealing more than just sleep. But what exactly were these entities? What purpose did they serve in our collective mythology? And perhaps most importantly, why do their stories continue to resonate in our modern world, centuries after the height of their supposed activity? The terms themselves reveal much about how these entities were perceived. Incubus derives from Latin, meaning to lie upon, a male demon that would descend upon sleeping women. Succubus, from the Latin to lie under, was his female counterpart, visiting men in their vulnerable slumber. Both were believed to engage in sexual activity with their victims, often while the person remained in a state between sleep and wakefulness. Medieval theologians took these entities quite seriously. In the infamous witch-hunting manual, the Malleus Maleficarum, published in 1486, authors Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger dedicated entire sections to these demonic visitors. They weren't alone. Respected religious figures from Thomas Aquinas to Pope Innocent VIII acknowledged their existence, attempting to explain these phenomena within the framework of Christian demonology. According to prevailing beliefs, these demons couldn't reproduce on their own. Instead, they developed an insidious system. A succubus would collect semen from a sleeping man, which would then be passed to an incubus, who would use it to impregnate a woman. The resulting offspring were believed to be cambions, half-human, half-demon creatures with supernatural abilities. Merlin, the legendary wizard of Arthurian tales, was sometimes described as having been conceived this way, a human mother impregnated by an incubus using stolen seed. This belief served as a convenient explanation for unexpected pregnancies, particularly among unmarried women or nuns who had taken vows of chastity. Rather than acknowledging more earthly explanations, communities could point to supernatural interference. But the phenomenon wasn't limited to Christian Europe. Across cultures and throughout history, similar entities appear with remarkable consistency. In Mesopotamian mythology, the Lilitu, precursors to the Jewish Lilith, were female demons who would steal men's seed during the night. In Arabic folklore, the Karina would visit sleeping men. Japanese mythology speaks of kitsune spirits sometimes taking human form to seduce unwary travelers. What makes these parallel myths so fascinating is their universal elements. The night setting, the helplessness of sleep, the violation of bodily autonomy, and the blending of pleasure with terror. These common threads suggest that these entities emerged as explanations for universal human experiences, rather than being mere fictional creations. Modern science offers several explanations for these historical accounts. Sleep paralysis, a phenomenon where a person awakens mentally while their body remains immobilized in REM sleep, matches many descriptions of demonic visitation with remarkable accuracy. The pressure on the chest, the sense of a presence in the room, the inability to move or cry out. These are all documented symptoms of this sleep disorder. Hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations, vivid sensory experiences that occur when falling asleep or waking up, could explain the vivid, often terrifying nature of these encounters. These hallucinations can involve all senses, including touch, making the experience of a nocturnal visitor seem horrifyingly real. Yet reducing these accounts to mere sleep disorders misses something crucial about their cultural significance. These weren't just nightmares, they were embedded in complex belief systems that helped our ancestors make sense of unexplainable experiences, particularly those involving sexuality. In societies where sexual desire was heavily regulated and often demonized, these entities served as convenient scapegoats. They allowed individuals to externalize forbidden desires, to experience them without taking responsibility for them. After all, how could one be blamed for acts committed by demons? For women especially, the myth of the incubus provided a cultural script for processing sexual trauma. In an era before the language of assault and consent had developed, describing unwanted sexual experiences as demonic attacks gave victims a way to speak about their suffering without challenging the social order that often protected human perpetrators. The succubus, meanwhile, embodied male anxieties about female sexuality. The image of the sexually aggressive woman who drains men of their vital essence reveals deep-seated fears about female power. These weren't just demons, they were manifestations of patriarchal anxiety, cautionary tales about what happens when women step outside their prescribed roles. Interestingly, as attitudes towards sexuality evolved, so too did depictions of these entities. In Renaissance art, succubi began to appear more frequently, often portrayed with a complex blend of allure and monstrosity. Beautiful women with bat wings, cloven hooves, or serpentine features. They became emblematic of forbidden temptation rather than pure evil. By the Romantic era, they had transformed further. In works like Keats' Lamia or the paintings of Fuseli, these nocturnal visitors became symbols of dark passion and dangerous beauty. Still threatening, but increasingly fascinating. They represented the shadow side of human desire rather than external demonic forces. This evolution continues in our modern era. Contemporary fiction, film, and gaming have reimagined incubi and succubi countless times, sometimes as straightforward villains, but increasingly as complex figures with their own motivations and moral complexity. The popularity of paranormal romance as a genre has further blurred the line between demon and lover, reflecting our culture's evolving relationship with desire and taboo. What makes these entities endure in our imagination isn't just their connection to sexuality, but their embodiment of something more fundamental, the vulnerability we experience in the liminal space between consciousness and sleep. Few experiences are more universal than the feeling of lying alone in darkness, aware of our defenselessness against whatever might emerge from the shadows, whether external threats or the darker aspects of our own psyches. Perhaps this is why reports of encounters with these entities haven't disappeared in our scientific age. Online forums dedicated to sleep disorders contain numerous accounts that echo medieval descriptions with uncanny similarity. The weight on the chest, the sense of a presence, the feeling of being touched by unseen hands. The language may have changed from demonic visitation to sleep paralysis, but the experience remains profoundly disturbing. Psychologists suggest that these encounters reveal something important about human consciousness. They represent moments when the boundaries between our waking logic and dreaming imagination become permeable, when our most primal fears and desires can manifest with hallucinatory vividness. In this sense, the incubus and succubus haven't disappeared, they've simply been reinterpreted as phenomena of our own minds rather than external entities. Yet even this psychological interpretation doesn't fully capture their power in human culture. Beyond their explanation as sleep disorders or psychological projections, these entities continue to function as powerful metaphors for aspects of human experience that remain difficult to articulate. The vulnerability of intimacy, the potentially consuming nature of desire, the thin line between pleasure and violation. They remind us that sexuality itself has always existed at the intersection of the divine and demonic in human imagination, capable of producing our highest expressions of connection and love, but also our most profound experiences of shame, fear, and exploitation. The persistence of these figures across cultures and through time suggests that they represent something fundamental about human experience that transcends any single explanation. So when you next find yourself awake in the darkest hours, feeling that inexplicable weight upon your chest or sensing an unseen presence in the room, remember that you're experiencing something that connects you to countless individuals throughout human history, from medieval peasants to Renaissance nobility to Victorian scholars. The night visitors may have changed their forms and names, but their essential nature remains. They are the embodiments of our most intimate fears and forbidden desires, emerging from the shadows when our conscious defenses are at their weakest. Whether you choose to interpret them as demons, psychological phenomena, or powerful cultural metaphors, one thing remains certain. Their ability to both terrify and fascinate reveals profound truths about our relationship with desire, fear, and the countless mysteries that still inhabit the night. If you've enjoyed this journey into the shadowy realm of incubi and succubi, don't forget to subscribe to Chronicles Explained and hit that notification bell. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced something that resembles these historical accounts? What other mysterious phenomena would you like us to explore in future episodes? Your support helps us continue bringing these forgotten stories to light. Until next time, remember, the line between nightmare and reality has always been thinner than we'd like to believe.